So, we're finally at the last part of this little series on sniper rifles, and the only thing left to talk about is the Vulkar Wraith, which, to some people, might seem like kind of an odd weapon to end the series on. It's certainly not the most popular of the snipers. I mean, it's got the worst crit chance, it's middle of the road in terms of base damage, it has less status chance than the Vectis Prime, and it is often considered the ugliest of the snipers. So, why did I hold this off until last instead of placing it with the also underwhelming Snipetron? Well, because this sniper is the one that has the most to talk about related to it, and when you can figure out a way to work around its issue and completely maximize it, you might just find it to be one of, if not the best sniper overall. Yes, I really just said that. Despite its reputation, the Vulkar Wraith has the potential to be up there with the best of the snipers when it is pushed as far as it can go. But before we actually talk about that, let's flip the usual style I use for these videos and say what the Vulkar's negatives are. And really, it's got 4 issues. It is one of the hardest to get of the snipers, as you can only get it through trading or by buying it when Barracuteer shows up. It also has the worst reload speed of its class at 3 seconds instead of the usual 2, and it's probably the hardest to build, as there's both one extremely rare mod that's not normally that important for snipers, but that you'll probably want to consider using here if you don't have a Riven, and more importantly, a Vulkar specific augment that you will want to be running because it gives the weapon a huge buff to its damage. But what really hurts the Vulkar Wraith more than any other issue is that it has a terrible base crit chance when compared to the other snipers. It only has a 20% chance to crit, and Point Strike only bumps that up to 50%, and while that doesn't seem too bad for a normal weapon, remember that snipers really like Hunter Munitions. That is by far their easiest way to deal with high amounts of armor, and with just Point Strike you will end up having only a 15% chance to proc Hunter Munitions per shot, as opposed to the 30% you can get with the Zoom Lanka shot, the 28.5 from the Rubico Prime, the 22.5 from the Vectis Prime, or even the 21% chance with the Snipetron Vandal. And while you can try to get around this by using a Riven or the very rare and expensive Argon Scope mod, that's still going to require you to sacrifice yet another mod slot, and like I said earlier, you're already going to be down 1 thanks to how important the Vulkar's unique mod is. So yeah, this is by default the worst of the snipers versus extremely high level armored enemies, so you might not want to use the Grineers on Sniper against them. However, there are some pretty major advantages to the Vulkar Wraith, and one of the biggest is its unique mod, Lasting Purity. This is an augment that you can get from New Loka or through trading, and it gives you a purity effect, as well as a bonus 60% dead aim. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that this is the worst described mod in the game, but what it does isn't all that complicated. The purity effect is just a syndicate bonus where, after you gain enough affinity, you create an explosion that hits everything nearby with corrosive damage and applies a stack of corrosive to them, as well as heals you for 25% of your max health, and buffs your max by 25% for 30 seconds. So yeah, that's not all that bad. As for what dead aim is, well, it is a 60% bonus to your total damage when zoomed. This applies after combo multipliers, after elements, after Serration, and I believe after Warframe buffs to your weapon. This is a completely separate multiplier from everything else that you can equip, and this means that everything that goes into your potential damage when zoomed will be increased by 60%. Yes, if you are using the Vulkar, this mod is wonderful and will give you more pure damage than even a second elemental mod can. And Lasting Purity is actually not the Vulkar's only source of hidden damage. You see, while the Vulkar Wraith only does 273 damage at base, thanks to its tiny 2-hit combo multiplier, the Vulkar will actually end up dealing around the same damage as the Vectis Prime when at the same number of hits, and sometimes even surpasses it. And the Vulkar's got a few other things on its side too. For one, if you don't amplify its fire rate, it is tied with the Lanka for having the least recoil. Even if you fire as fast as you can, you will not have any shots land on a different spot, so you don't actually ever need to try and compensate for recoil like you sometimes need to do with the Vectis and Snipetron. Also, it has a guaranteed impact effect on every shot, which provides minor crowd control to anything you don't outright kill, and can help set up anything that lives through the first shot for a follow-up headshot. This effect is not tied at all to status chance and doesn't even actually count as a true proc, so these same attacks can easily apply any other status effect that you're using without issue. Which is great, because the Vulkar is also tied with the Lanka for having the second highest status chance of the snipers at 25%, which when combined with its high damage means that it's a wonderful choice for those who want to mess around with a gas build. But what's actually the most important advantage to the Vulkar Wraith is actually what happens when you put a Riven on it. Remember how I said that what's by far the Vulkar's worst negative was its critical hit chance? Yeah, the Vulkar has a 5-star Riven disposition, the highest out of its class, and the moment you get a Riven that has any crit chance on it at all, you will immediately remove that weakness and hopefully gain 1 or 2 additional stats that will probably be good enough on their own to equal all of what you can get from the 3-star Rivens that you can get for the Rubico, the Lanka, and the Vectis. There is way too much variation in Rivens to know for sure whether the Vulkar actually come out as the straight up best sniper when comparing all 5 with Rivens, but since Hunter Munitions does not proc more after your crit chances reach 100%, you can already remove that weakness to a degree with Arcane's Warframe powers and Kavats, and the difference between a 3-star and a 5-star Riven's generally about 50%. It's safe to say that these 4 weapons with Rivens are all going to be very close, and that the additional damage multiplier from Lasting Purity might just be enough to put the Vulkar Wraith all the way at the top when everything is maximized. So yeah, the Vulkar is a great weapon with some wonderful perks, but honestly you can say that about every single thing in this class. Despite the Snipetron's relatively low damage output, it's got massive punch through and can still tear through most things you name it at in very little time despite its relatively low damage output. The Lanka's got even more punch through and the highest damage per shot of the entire class of weapons, but it has the lowest fire rate, issues with its combo multiplier, and a projectile travel time that might turn some people off. Meanwhile, the Rubico has amazing critical stats and a beautiful combo multiplier, but it also has the lowest base damage and a magazine that is only surpassed in puniness by the Vectis Prime, which makes up for its issues with the class's fastest reload speed and fantastic overall stats. And of course, the Vulkar Wraith takes the most work to make into a great weapon thanks to its need for specialized mods and how much benefit it gets from additional crit, but it also has the highest potential out of everything in the class if you are willing to put the effort into maximizing it. So yeah, all of the snipers are great weapons. In fact, they might actually be the best balanced class of weaponry in Warframe. There's reasons to use every single thing in the class, and if you discover you really enjoy one of these rifles, you can probably make it into one of the best things in your arsenal. And yeah, I think that covers everything you might ever need to know about snipers. I know that this wasn't my normal sort of content, and it certainly came out a bit later than I intended, but it was a lot of fun to make and I hope you guys enjoyed it. I am planning on getting back to my Limbo videos soon, but if you like this series, please tell me, as I've got a few more similar sets in mind that I'd like to do sometime in the future. As always, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like and subscribe, and I will see you later. Farewell.